Okay, so we're back. This is video 3 on the cultural formulation interview and talking about how it impacts cultural humility. Okay, so we went through how our support can either increase or decrease stress for the presenting problem. Again, here is this put into our worksheet here that you could utilize with a client. Let's move on to what role cultural identity plays. Okay. So here's your next set of questions for you. Sometimes aspects of people's background or identity can make their problem better or worse. By background or identity, I mean, for example, the communities you belong to, the languages you speak, where you or your family are from, your race or ethnic background, your gender or sexual orientation, or your faith or religion. For you, what are the most important aspects of your background or identity? Okay. The next question, are there any aspects of your background or your identity that make a difference for your problem? And then third, are there any aspects of your background or identity that causes others concerns or difficulties for you? Are there any other aspects of your background or identity that are causing others concerns or difficulties for you? Okay. So what I want for you to do, again, you're going to pause the video and answer these 3 questions, or 4 questions. So this is going to help you get an idea of their individual system and their culture. So you're going to pause. This one's going to take you a little bit longer. You're going to pick something from the Brave Clay kit or from your house or from your sand tray and to represent this question, just what feels right. Okay. You're going to pick something and then you're going to write about what you picked and what stands out for you. Okay. So you're going to go ahead and pause the video, answer these questions, and then we'll continue whenever you get back. Okay, so you've finished, you've come back to this video. You should have answered these 3 problems. So if you think about for your culture, what are the most important aspects of your background or identity? So for me, if I go back to that ladder, I'm going to think about that the fact that everybody is expected to just rise up to do the next thing to get it done. That could impact if we think about how I think that's normal. Okay, that everybody can do that with ease, that hard work means you're going to get the next thing. Well, in some communities, that's not true. Some communities, there's others. If we talk about inequities, then some cultures and systems may not have the same opportunities that I bring to my situation because of just many aspects, but one is just privilege. That's going to what is just for even the most visual white privilege. I bring a certain set of opportunities because of that privilege that someone else may not have. So what's helpful in doing this is you can see for your client, what do they see as the barriers in their culture or in their community? I came from a family who my mom was the first one to go to college. I was able to watch her go to college and see her do that. That is a set of some level of privilege that I was not a first generation college student. I had seen someone do it before me. So, again, realizing that what you're bringing and your views and your set of privileges, your clients may not have those. So, this is why doing these activities yourself are also very important because you may assume that certain things are a norm. You may assume that it's normal that everyone has internet access. You may assume that it's normal that everyone has a parent at home in the evening or overnight, but that may not be the case. Okay. So The other thing about these questions that I want to point out is the what makes a difference. Okay. Because sometimes there may also be resources there that work for that client that could go on a safety plan or go on a resource list, or somebody you could pull in. Okay. Depending on the culture of the client, they may have the expectation that the whole family be involved. Okay. So again, this is just the same questions put into a different format for you. So other areas, coping and past help. So these are also in the CFI. We're not going to cover them today, but one of the biggest here, and this is usually asked in an intake question, is have you sought help before? Okay. What worked and what didn't work? What was your family's opinion when you had help before, right? Did they think that counseling helps? Do they think it's a waste of time? Okay. Those things can impact the clinical treatment. Does one parent think that therapy is good for the kid and the other parent doesn't? Well, that's really good information for you to know, because maybe one parent isn't going to bring the kid on the week that they have them and the other parent will bring them. Okay. So again, those kinds of information, that kind of information can be really helpful for you as the clinician. Okay. This is the book that's helpful for those of you who are interested in play therapy. I just picked out a piece that talked about the cultural aspects, but this covers it in all kind of topics related to play therapy. Another thing, so here's my contact information and the link to the handouts. But what I want to do before we wrap up is I also want to talk about how is it that a counselor can further understand what their own values are and how they show up in therapy. I don't have them with me, but a thing that is helpful is to get a values list of words. There are tons out there on the internet. We have at Garrett created a values deck. And so it has all of the values listed and a definition. And one of the things that can be very helpful for you as a clinician is to go through that values list, and to pull out the cards or to circle the words of the things that you value. Now, when you look at the list, you know, well, I value all those things, but you don't value them to the greatest degree. So what I like to do is to take that deck of cards and actually, just hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can grab them. Okay, I'm coming, guys. All right. So this is just the deck that we have. So here are just some, you can see, pretty simple. So self-control, dependability, courage, order, fun, God's will. Sorry, it's hard to read backwards. Hope. All right. So comfort. So what I would do as a counselor, okay, is just a human, we're going to go through and we would sort these. And I tell people just start sorting in two different piles. Yes, but okay, yes, very much so. So, I mean, comfort's important, but it's not like I value comfort. Health, yes. Genuineness, okay, but not really. Simplicity, nah. Integrity, okay. So I'm going to go through and pick, and then I'm going to take the ones that are my stronger yeses, and I'm going to go through and narrow those down again. I'd like to get a client to get them down to like 5 or 10, and then we can do some work around those. This is great because it helps you to know what you actually hold most dear. Because when you're helping clients solve problems, these values are at the core of everything you do. And you want to keep them in check because these are your values not necessarily your client's values. So the first step is to know what your values are. Okay. The next is to know what your client values, because then if I can get this down to 10 for my client, I have that framework to run all their decisions through. So when they tell me that they cheated on a test, okay, but one of their core values is honesty, then I can be like, no wonder you're feeling a lot of discomfort and anxiety, right? Because you're not living your day to day according to what you say you value. Okay. So, what you're going to see with clients who, for example, have anxiety is that when their values are conflicting, right, with what they're doing versus what they value, you're going to see a higher anxiety. With clients who can't live their values because of maybe how their daily life is set up and they feel hopeless, you're going to see symptoms of depression. Okay. So values is super helpful because it can help you see maybe where the disconnect is between the client's living externally and what they're feeling inside. For you as the clinician, it helps a way for you to keep yourself in check, that you're not over pushing something based on your values. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is really something I talk about in an ethics class more than anything, is that find out what you value the most. If you had to cut it down to one or two cards, or the thing that you're most passionate about. Okay. The thing that you're most passionate about is the thing that you need to tell your supervisor, because that's going to be the thing that could be your ethical gray area where you push something way too strong. For example, okay, you may have a very strong opinion about abortion. That comes up a lot in therapy. Okay. You may have a very strong opinion about it. You need to know that about yourself so that when you're in session, you're not guiding or judging or leading a client in any kind of way that's based on that very strong piece inside you. Okay. So that's the one, is what are you most passionate about? Okay. The second one is, what are you most apathetic about? Okay. Because the thing that you're like, there's just not enough energy in the world for me to deal with that. Those two areas where you feel that strongly tend to be the areas where your ethical violations could be the greatest. So maybe the one that you don't really care about that much is related to boundaries. Okay. So maybe you're very lackadaisical. I've got clients, I go to church with them, or I'll see my cousin's kid, right? And in remote areas, that's a whole nother issue. But it could be that you're so lax. Maybe you let clients follow you on your personal Facebook, or because you have an Instagram page and you want the clients to follow you there, right? So your boundaries are just sort of, it's fine. It's a small community, right? You can find yourself in a slippery ethical slope there. So, what are you most passionate about? And what are you most apathetic about? Those two things are going to help protect your license the most. Know those two things about yourself. Okay. All right. If you have questions or need anything, this is my email. You can email me. I'm usually pretty good about getting back to you within a couple of days, usually in the same day. The handouts are going to come from your teacher. But if you have any other questions, you guys feel free to reach out. And thanks for joining me.